Okay, looks like we have a pretty good crowd here from our list of registrants, so we'll go ahead and get started. Um, my name is Ramin Hashemi. I'm a volunteer with SCORE, Minnesota, and I look forward to, oh, I'm sorry, you can't hear me. Well, I am not muted, so the person that says they cannot hear me, hopefully they're not the only one. Can someone else chat me if they can hear me? Okay, thank you. So it's not a problem on my end. So let's get started. I'll try to speak loudly. I'm usually loud and I talk a lot, so heads up for you guys. Um, so we're going to be talking about hiring in a tough job environment today. I am not an HR person. I'm not a recruiter. My experience is really as a hiring manager in my career for all the companies I worked for, and I was lucky enough to be able to hire lots of people, and in some cases, let go of some people when things didn't work out. So I'd like to share some of my experiences with you today. This is set up as a webinar in Zoom, so your microphones and your cameras are turned off by default. Um, as we go through, I'd like this to be interactive. So if you think of something and you want to share that, please put that in the Q&A box. The chat box gets a little bit unwieldy and it's hard for me to manage that. So if you could do me a favor, um, raise your hand. If you want me to open your microphone, I'll do that. Or type in the Q&A box and I can respond to your Q&A. I'm moderating as well as presenting, so I may be slow at times when I'm dealing with the different windows, but we're all getting better at Zoom. Um, in terms of the recording and the slide deck, Maxwell, in terms of your question, we are going to send you a copy of this, and the recording will be up on our website, so you guys don't have to take notes if you don't want to. I know that can be unwieldy. So let's get going. A little bit about SCORE first. SCORE is a national nonprofit. A lot of you are familiar with it. We're associated with the Small Business Administration. Um, and we help small businesses with free confidential mentoring and education sessions like this. So we have over 300 chapters and over 11,000 volunteers serving the communities. And we've helped 10 million businesses since being founded in 1964. We help businesses from a pre-startup and startup, which is a lot of our work. Also, businesses that have been around for a while and they're looking for growth. And then those that want to exit, frankly, when things don't work out. I'm excited to tell you in SCORE, Minnesota, we've just brought on a decent number of new mentors with new expertise. So if you think that we can help you by talking you through things about growth, establishing a new business, new line of business, sales, marketing, go ahead and request a mentor and have a discussion so we can help you out. We have a lot of great sponsors and community partners around here, which came in very handy. For example, when COVID hit, all of these banks partnered with us so we can step our clients through getting loans and grants and everything else that was available. So today is the first part of our HR series, March HR series. So it's called Hiring in a Tough Job Environment. March 9th, we're going to have company culture, create it, embrace it, and reward it. Then we're going to talk about on March 16th, performance reviews, which are really important. Why employees leave and how to keep them, really important. Once you hire them, you want to keep them. That's on March 23rd. And then on March 30th, getting things done in the gig economy. So today's topics, I'm going to give you a little bit of background, just set up the talk today. Is it time to add staff? Is hiring staff the only way for your business? And then we get into the hiring process. I'll pause. I want to hear from you really after a few slides here. So if you think of things, go ahead and type them in the Q&A box or raise your hand and I'll open your microphone. Um, and then, so I'll present a few, Robert, and then I'll open up your microphone in a bit. And then we'll talk about the hiring process, ongoing leadership, resources, and questions and comments. So, background. Um, I think all of us know a record number of employees are leaving their positions the past 2 years. You know, employers are having a hard time filling positions, and it's impacting their growth um, abilities. So that's becoming a larger and larger issue for us. You know, you've heard of the great resignation, the gray resignation. I don't know what else you can call it. And there are between 10 and 11 million open jobs now out there. So it's pretty competitive. 42% of small businesses last year had unfilled jobs, which is a lot. It's great that they're trying to hire and grow. It's not good that they have so many unfilled jobs. 63% found hiring the right talent as their biggest challenge. So, in terms of background, that's what we're dealing with. Top three issues facing small businesses: need to increase salaries to stay competitive, an ability to find qualified applicants. So even when you get applicants, do they have the right skill sets? If they don't, then you have to train them. And then lack of applicants. So that's also becoming an issue that no one applies for jobs. I am on our board of directors here at our condo where we live, and we have our own employees. And you know, we're facing all of these issues here. We're paying more. The job that was paying, I don't know, $12, $13 an hour a few years ago is now paying $19 or $20 an hour. When people come in, they have very basic skills and we train them. And then, you know, we post jobs that are out there for weeks and months and we don't get anybody. So it's tough. So candidates that you do get want flexibility. Some want flexibility in schedule. Some want to work during certain hours, you know, drop off their kids, pick up their kids. They want to work remotely if that's the type of work you're dealing with. And then they're asked, you know, employers that have extra perks can hire the best candidates. So I would say in summary to that, it's a seller's market. So I have a message. Could you turn on Zoom captioning? Let me pause and do that. I have never turned on captioning on Zoom. We've never needed it. So I'm going to move on at this point. Oh, transcript button. Okay. I've never done that. Okay. Let me do that. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to need to get going, but so I won't be able to. I don't want to waste everybody's time. So Gus, is there research on where the employees that quit, where they find jobs? Do they change markets, go to larger enterprises, et cetera? You know, interesting question. I mean, the reading I've done says that, you know, the last 2 years, these employees are trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives. They're, you know, that maybe they've had dissatisfaction, maybe they want to change fields. Some are going back to school, and you know, some are basically just finding themselves again. Some are pausing their careers. It's really interesting. Now, I think there is now an upward trend in people coming back to work in the last month or two, which is great. But in terms of, you know, what people are doing, this is unprecedented. I mean, I know when I was in the job market before I retired, you know, working was never a question. You just did it. You just did work and you made your paycheck and you advanced and etc. It seems like there are a lot of people that are questioning that. So it is interesting. Let me I think somebody had their hand up. So let me see if I can So, Robert, I have opened your microphone. If you have something to share with us, go ahead and unmute and you can speak. Robert, you had your hand up. Okay, you're able to speak if your microphone is open. Okay, I am going to disable that and lower your hand. Raise your hand if you have something else that comes up. Anyway, so let's get going with the rest of the presentation. So the first question you have to ask yourself is, you know, is it time to add staff? So at some point, you need more resources in order to grow your business. And it's not obvious, but this is a big decision. If you're if this is your business that you founded or a small business, and a new employee or a couple of new employees can change a lot in how everything pans out. We already alluded to culture, which we'll address next week, but a new employee needs to be a good fit. They need to play along. They need to be a winner. It's a big decision for you. Where when you are the founder and the entrepreneur, this is all you do and you care about it a great deal. An employee needs to be just as engaged. So it is a big decision. So good employees can transform your business. Honestly, in my career, I liked employees that challenged me. They came up with new ideas. Hey, the old way of doing it maybe wasn't right. So that's, to me, is the kind of person you want. They can free up the business owner's time. So this is called really, creating more opportunity for you. So if you have to get in your car and drive to deliver something, it takes you 2 hours. If you don't actually have to do that and spend those 2 hours growing your business, it is a tremendous value add. So it really is giving you more opportunity. So now, is hiring the staff the only way to grow the business? Because it is such a big decision. You want to ask yourself all of these questions because it is expensive, right? I mean, in most businesses, you look at salaries, that is the highest expense by far in most cases. If you have a situation with an employee, it's going to take time to resolve it. So, and it's going to take time away from other parts of your business. You also have to think about what's core and what's non-core. So these are, terminology that some of you are probably familiar with. Core is what matters to the business. It's central to the operations of the business. Non-core, it's peripheral functions. It adds little value. So, if you're, I don't know, take making a car, building that car and making it perfect is core. But putting it on a truck and delivering it to a dealer may not be core to you because you're in the business of building cars. So that's where you figure out the functions that are core. You want to keep in-house, you want to train your employees, you want to deliver it as well as possible. The ones that are non-core, you want to optimize. How much is it costing me? Can I get it cheaper? Can I get someone else to do it for me? And so that's what's critical there. And determine if you can automate. If, for example, you're taking an order from a website and transferring it to another system, or moving an invoice from here to QuickBooks, can that be automated? You're spending a lot of time signing paper. Obviously, that technology has been around for decades. So use technology. So consider virtual labor. So there are places where you can hire virtual labor pretty easily. Go to Upwork, go to a lot of websites. Can that person do work for you? Now, if you're going to spend a ton of time training them, if it's a very complicated item or task, then it's not worth it. But if it's simple enough and it's repetitive, then you can use contract or virtual labor. And make sure before you go down this path that you can afford a new employee because, again, they are expensive. So let me pause for a minute and see if we have any questions. Benjamin is asking W-2 versus 1099. Exactly. So you want to add an employee that's W-2, or you want a 1099, a contractor. And, that's going to be your decision. That's where I would say if it's core, you want to consider W-2. If it's non-core, you absolutely want to either 1099 or find a third party to do the work. I mean, again, in my simple example of driving something somewhere, if you need, I don't know, there are a limited number of hours in a day. If you have 8 or 10 hours in a day, do you want to spend 2 hours in the car? You get a delivery service to do it. Now, if your 2 hours results in you getting in front of your customer, shaking their hand, or talking to them about what else they're going to need in the future, that's core. But if you're just dropping off a box in the mailroom, that's not core. So those are the kind of considerations you have to have. So let me close this one. Now, at this point, you have determined that it's time to hire. So let's talk about what it takes to hire correctly. So here are the steps that they're pretty typical steps. Different publications say them differently, but here's what it takes. You develop a plan. And I'll talk about each of these as we go on. You post the job, you share it, you identify the right candidates, then you choose the one that you want, and then you bring them on board, right? Pretty simple. So let's talk about each of them. This is where a lot of work happens with the hiring manager or the entrepreneur, the business owner. You have got to spend the upfront time. Otherwise, you're not going to get the candidate you want. So first of all, set aside time because it's important. Develop a timeline. When do you want this employee to be on board? If you are, let's say, a seasonal business, right? And your season is Christmas. You want to get somebody on board, I don't know, October to train them or November to train them so they can get going. So you have got to decide on the timeline and then back your way into what you need to do to get that done. Now, in the olden days, you posted a job and you got a ton of applicants. In the new world, that's not the case. So you got to allow more time. Think about what makes this job attractive. Again, it's a seller's market. So their candidates are looking at lots of jobs and deciding what they want to do, what they select. So highlight the fun, the value, the culture, promotion. Hey, if you do a good job, I'll move you up to this job and then we'll bring someone else to do your job. Write a good job description. It's important to write a job description. I know a lot of people roll their eyes when they hear job description, but you know, this is something that's good for the candidate and it's good for you too, because you want to set expectations right up front. This is your job, and employee needs to understand what that job is. And God forbid, you don't want to be in a situation in 6 months that the employee says, well, you never told me I had to do this. Now, the job description can't cover 100% of the job ever, no matter what job you're talking about. You really want to cover a majority of it. Decide on money, compensation plan, and range. Um, you know, in some cases, you won't be able to afford some of the candidates. So you got to know what that number is. And you got to know where your ceiling is. How far are you willing to negotiate? Define kind of in your head, what do you want in an ideal employee? Do you want someone that's high energy? Do you want someone that's analytical, can sit there and with a spreadsheet and bring you back these, real great results? What do you want in an ideal employee? And ask someone else, at least one other person, to help you. Because we get tunnel vision when we talk to people, to candidates. And a lot of times we tend to hire people that are like us, who have, however we think, we say, oh, I want that kind of person. That's not always a good idea. you're going to want a good balance of creativity in a candidate, in your new employee. Now, this one, sort of the easiest part, is really you've done all the legwork. Now you want to post the job. Um, so it has to be a clear, short and clear posting. People don't have attention span anymore. So you got to make it concise, but you got to say all the critical things. Now, if you post it and you don't get anybody for a week or two, update it, jazz it up, take it down, put it back up. Um, small business applicants are a little bit different. They want to care about what they do, purposeful mission. They want work that challenges them, and they want to get promoted. So that's kind of the mindset you're dealing with. If you've got positive recognition in your business from a customer or from customers or from a supplier, say it. Share the positive recognition. Um, in the websites where you post, you may want to include some screening questions. And the way screening questions works, if you haven't used them, is, let's say I'm on Indeed, I apply for a job. It says you got to answer these 5 questions. If I answer those 5 questions incorrectly, or I don't give the right answers, then I'm not considered a candidate for that job. So the website will screen them for you. A little point of caution: be careful with screening questions, because you could weed out people that have the skill set or have the aptitude, but not the skill set. So, sometimes you want people that are willing to learn and willing to be challenged. Maybe day one, they don't have what it takes. So just a warning when you do set up these screening questions. Let me pause for a minute and check to see if there are any questions. I don't see any new questions. And nobody has their hand up. I'm waiting for somebody brave to speak up and help me here. Okay. So you've posted the job. Now what? So the best thing you can do in terms of finding somebody is you gotta spread the word. You gotta the best thing is to go after the person is going to do the job. If you're that lucky, call them up, text them, social media, whatever you need to do. Hey Bob, I know you can do this job. I have an opening for you. Let's have coffee. That's the best way to hire people. And for me, when I think about my career, that's how I got jobs. I think I went through a 32-year career, and I think I only applied for jobs a couple of times. So that's the best way. So spread the word in your local network as well. Friends, family, colleagues. Hey, I got this job. Hey, I'm looking to hire somebody. Do you know anybody? That's the best way to do it. Post on social media. If you're on LinkedIn, post it and do #hiring. It will highlight it for you. Post a job on a job board like Indeed. Remember, there's money involved here. So they are going to, every time they give you a resume, they'll charge you. So, Gus, the issue that you have in the Q&A box, so you're saying my issue is that often, although you have agreed on interview, the candidate does not show up. Is that common? So I can only tell you from my other volunteer job with the board here, we are running into that very often. First of all, getting a call back from somebody is a monumental task. It's just when they call you back and they agree to come to an interview, many don't show up to the interview. We even have people that go through an offer process, drug test, get a job offer confirmed, and don't show up on day one. We think it's because they are getting other jobs, other opportunities, because there's so many out there. But this is becoming more and more common. And as I think back to, 5 years ago when I was working, that was not at all what we were dealing with. When somebody made a commitment to show up, they showed up. So Gus, unfortunately, that's the new world we live in. Okay, so now um, you want to identify the suitable candidates. So this is where you have to be very organized. You got to track every candidate, and the tools help you, the websites help you, but you don't want to lose anybody. Rank them. So know who's your top candidate, who doesn't qualify, who's in between, and quickly reach out to them. Again, seller's market. So somebody's out there. If you're going to call them today and somebody's going to call them tomorrow, you have the upper hand if you call today. So get it done. Um, I would say immediately screen the top candidates. Now, it used to be in the olden days that we did everything face to face. Then, the phone came in and you could do it in phone. I would say your initial screening can be short, 30 minutes or so, and it can be on the phone or it can be video. So, I just in person is ideal, but I would defer that. This is a screening step. You're just trying to figure out if that's if this person is on your top 3 list, if you will. So, how do you choose the top candidate? So, interview the top 1 or 2 at least one more time. This time, I suggest you do it in person, if possible. If that person is not remote, do it in person. You get a lot more out of it. You get to build a connection with the person, whether you talk about, I don't know, their kids or cycling or whatever art. It's a connection. It's a connection that you probably can't develop remotely. um, Ask at least one other person to do an interview. Again, people don't want to go through a long interview process, so I would say at least one more, so your colleague, friend, family member that's willing to help you here. Collect the feedback quickly and you got to make a decision quickly, because that candidate won't be around very long. And make an offer and come to agreement on a compensation. Um, be ready to negotiate in this new world. It's not linear anymore, where people interview, get a job offer, send their acceptance. They're asking for more. I think more and more people want, let's say, more paid time off. They want to see if they can work from home, if that's the kind of job you're dealing with. Can I start at 9 a.m. instead of 7:30? So those are the kind of things. And as a small business, you can probably be flexible. So that's the good thing about it. Rejected candidates, let them know as soon as possible. The ones that clearly don't fit, let them know. Okay. And then close the job posting. So now you have a new hire and they started. Here's what I would say you should think about. If there are other people in the business, make sure you talk to them. Sometimes people enjoy being the one, or the one that does everything and is sort of the hero, and you bring in someone else and they feel slighted. So it's really important to say, okay, your job doesn't change, or I'm moving you up, I'm moving you over to this. We got a new person helping us. And at the same time, get them involved in the training. So it's important to get other people to be a part of the solution here. You have to take the time to train the new employee. This is, again, more work for you. But, what's obvious to you may not be obvious to a new person coming off the street. So the first few weeks are very critical. Got to spend the extra time with a new employee, and make sure they get trained correctly. Putting it financially, remember, everything we just talked about cost you time. It costs you 10, 20, 30 hours. Then you're going to train a new employee, dozen or more hours in the first month. So this is cost. If that employee walks out, you have just lost all that investment. So it's really important to make sure this works out. Now, ongoing leadership. You can't just get past the first month and say, oh, adios, you're on your own. Everybody work. So you got to stay involved. My best practice was always meet with my direct reports once a week. It was short meeting. It can be standing up. It can be outside, inside. Hey, how are things going? What can I do to help you? Here's what I need from you to do. This did not go well. This went great. Really important. Share open feedback and make sure, and obviously I talk a lot. Make sure that you listen to the employee. If things are working well with the employees, give them more work. Give them more complex work. Why not? Now, downside, there are going to be cases where things don't work out. So right out of the gate, you say, oh, we've been through the training, we've been through coaching, it's not working out as I expected. Your first order of business should be to do additional coaching and training, because remember that investment we talked about? You don't want to lose that investment. You want to be able to preserve it. If you've done that, there's still no guarantee that things are going to work out. So I, you know, my suggestion is to keep the line of communication open. You don't want an employee to think they're doing great and you're sitting in the next room saying they're doing terrible. So you got to give ongoing feedback so it's not a surprise. And if things don't work out, you respectfully part with the employee. It's not fun. I know a lot of business owners that dread doing that. I, as a manager, dreaded doing that in my career. But you know what? Sometimes it doesn't work out. And guess what? The employee themselves is probably suffering as well as you are. So as long as you do it respectfully, don't make it personal, it works fine. So I have talked through everything I wanted to talk about. We have plenty of time for your comments and questions. I want to hear from you and your experiences. But while you think about that, I put some resources here. And again, you'll have this presentation sent to you tomorrow or the day after. I put some good resources here for you, so you can click on those. So let's see what questions or really more comments you have from. I want to hear if what you're dealing with and what are you seeing out there in terms of hiring. So let me pause and see. Again, you can raise your hand and I'll open your microphone, or you can type in the Q&A box. Waiting for that brave person to speak up. Is there anyone out there that's looking to hire right now that can share what they're seeing? Let me open up. So Benjamin, I'm going to open your microphone. If you could unmute, you can speak, please. Go ahead. Benjamin, I can hear you. Go ahead. Benjamin, are you there? Do you have a question or comment? Okay, I'm going to, maybe that was by accident. I will. So Jenny, I'm opening your microphone. Go ahead. Jenny Means. Go ahead and unmute and you can speak. Yeah.
Hi there, just took a second to unmute. Hello, thank you. My question was just what document do we ask for to verify the candidate can work in the US?
So again, I'm not an HR person, but I think you can use the E-Verify system. There's a lot of there are a lot of articles out there you can Google in terms of what would you do, but we use E-Verify here. when we
Okay.
hire. And you know, I think that's a great question. Is really there are, in addition to what I talked about today, Jenny, there are a lot of I mean, I know the word legal can be scary, but there are legal things you got to worry about when you have employees, right? If it's just you know you're working here, you're not dealing with, you know, all the laws that are around employment. So these are kind of things that, now, I'm not saying a small business needs to go and hire a big time lawyer, but there are considerations you need to worry about. So great question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and let me see. Gus, your microphone is open. If you could unmute. Gus, you are muted, so we can't hear you. You could unmute your Zoom, then you can speak. Okay.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now, Gus.
Oh,
Thanks.
okay. Now it worked. Okay. So I have a question about there's there's uh, there's a phase when you grow and you talk about having having hiring people for your core functionality, so to say.
Mhm.
So my question is, how do you know that you're concentrating on the right core functionality to hire for? I mean, it can be a big deal to if you're good at selling if you're building a car, you're good at selling it, it will be a part of the core business.
Yeah.
But you don't know, but you kind of say, okay, I'm not good at marketing, so I would hire somebody for marketing. But is it really somebody for marketing that I'm supposed to be hiring, or is it for something else? Is there some kind of way, some kind of models, or some kind of business people that you can talk to, or how does that work?
Good question, and it's one of those that I don't know that I can even do it justice giving you an answer. I mean, if you're the entrepreneur, I think you know what matters. What your we're not talking about client relationships today, but we're going to hit that in April. First of all, I would say the holy grail of all this is when you're dealing with clients that are paying you money for your services, that is core. That interaction is core. Their satisfaction is core. So right there, that's kind of at the highest end of core for me. The lowest end of non-core, an example, is back office kind of stuff, or things that don't matter if they are, you know, if they're, let's say, done at a lower level. So, you know, again, I'll use kind of what I'm involved in on our board here in our condo. I can hire people to cut grass, right? And they cut it so well. And then it's perfect. Or I can outsource it like the whole world has. Are people going to say, I'm not going to buy here because the grass cutting is outsourced? Absolutely not. It looks the same. So you really got to analyze what matters to you, what matters to your customers, what matters to your revenue stream. Those are core, and things that can be offloaded at a reasonable price should be considered non-core. There are a lot of great articles out there, Gus, if you want to check them out, and then we'll talk about them at another session as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Great question. Okay, let me open up Elena's microphone. Your mic is open. If you unmute, you can speak, Elena.
Hello, how are you doing?
Great. How are you?
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ramin's great presentation.
Sure. Thank you.
You're welcome. My question is, how would a business decide when a business is at a decision point of hiring W-2 versus 1099? Like, what would be the major decision points to consider getting someone on W-2
Mhm.
payroll?
So, yeah, a couple of considerations I can think of, Elena, is number one, if you see that employee or that person or that resource, however you want to call it, if that resource will have steady work from now on, and as long as the business is around, I would consider W-2 because you're going to need them this year, you're going to need them next year, and you want to train them, invest in them, and you want them to stick around. Now, if you have something you're not sure about that it's going to sustain, that you're going to need to keep, or a finite project, then maybe 1099 is a better idea for you because they come in, do the work, it's limited risk to you, you close that relationship, you're done. So it's more what's sustaining and long-term versus what is short-term with a finite result. Elena, that's how I would look at it. Make sense?
Yes. So generally, if you want this employee to be a longer term employee and you see the benefits, then you just do that, the W-2 type of arrangement, and just, yeah, if someone perfectly fits for the position and performs well.
Yeah, the other thing you should think about is, there are a lot of cases where you can bring in a contract labor and then convert them to an employee later if they work out. So if you're not sure, you can sort of take that tact as well. That works pretty well. There may be buyouts if you are using an agency for a contractor. Just be aware of that because, once they give you the contractor, then if you want to hire them, you have to pay a certain percentage of their annual salary. That's the buyout. So, I mean, I think things in life aren't always clear, but if you know you're going to need, if it's a core function, you're going to need that person to be with you into eternity, invest in a W-2 employee. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. All right. So let me look at the Q&A and see what we have. I'm going to go kind of from the most recent question. What are the qualified applicants? You said don't call back, don't show up for interviews. We struggle with this too. Your opinion is that they're finding jobs elsewhere. We've been looking to add 5 to 10 staff for quite a while now. Other companies in our industry are having the same issue, unfortunately closing their doors because they can't find. Don't tell me there are no longer people working in our childcare industry anymore. It's I would say, I hate that word, but I'm going to use it. It's unprecedented. I've never seen it this way before. That people don't call back, people don't want jobs, people ask for the world. I tend to think that that's going to change this year. I think, you can only go so long changing fields or going back to school or sitting at home or whatever you do. So again, this is putting pressure on you as a business owner, and you have to get creative. It's, finding candidates is becoming a huge job for business owners. So you got to stay active. You got to have a sign up front. You got to have a sign on the window. Put one on your car. Social media, every week post something about I have jobs and I'm looking. Text and call your friends. Go around and talk to different people. It is going to take a massive amount of work, as you're seeing. So I don't envy you, and what you're experiencing is unfortunately very typical. Preference between ZipRecruiter or Indeed, I really don't have a preference. I think you just get on and look. They both appear to be good. I know ZipRecruiter prides themselves on giving you the top candidates rather than any candidate. I think with Indeed, you can probably do the same thing with the qualifying questions. So I really don't have a preference. So getting some applicants through ZipRecruiter and LinkedIn. However, when asking them to come in, file an employment application, schedule an interview, there's no response. This is from RD Smith. Yep, that is unfortunately what we're dealing with. They're not, so you have to be persistent. So it's this new world we're in. Okay, so how do I handle vacation when my jobs are all the time? So I don't know. I don't know if there's a question about employee, Benjamin, but so I mean, I think you want to agree up front what your vacation, if you have a PTO policy, you want to set up, hey, you get a week off, you get 1 day off per month. You guys have to work that out because there are coverage issues, obviously. So I'm reading the Q&A, everyone, and it's very, very similar experiences that you have. Last question, Kim Yetta McLennan, what options are available to replay the presentation? We're going to post this recording on our website, and you'll be able to just look at it again, and we'll send the slides to you as well. So let me look at the chat box. Even though I said not to put questions in chat, I'm going to look there. All right, I'm sorry you can't hear Mike. I think we're okay with audio. Jonas, are there indicators a candidate is going to be a good employee? What are stock questions you ask candidates to interview? Great question, and I wish it was that straightforward. I think, a lot of this falls on the hiring manager. What are the things you care about? So my way of doing it was I left things very open at the beginning, and I let a candidate tell me about themselves. And I just sat back and I listened. How a candidate presents themselves right at the beginning matters a lot. The people that have it together and are good candidates will do a good job. They give you their elevator pitch. They give you what you need to know to a point that they're answering the questions that you're going to ask. So to me, that's a perfect candidate. Now, from there, I think you want to take notes and you want to delve into the areas they brought up. Hey, okay, candidate says, I used to work at a car wash for 2 years up in Wisconsin. So you gotta think about, all right, what's the parallel from that job to where I'm hiring? Let's say I'm hiring for a printing business. So, okay, you care about how hard they worked. You care about, what was their schedule, what changes. If you care, somebody that wants creative, you say, okay, did you find a new way of doing things? Did you suggest things to the owner, et cetera. So you gotta let them set up, and then you gotta dig in, and you gotta bring it back to what you care about and what your business cares about. Okay. So, and you also, I would say one thing that's really important, make sure the candidate is comfortable. I have walked into rooms where there's a panel of interviewers and it looks like the CIA is going to talk. That is not the setup you want. You want someone to, let their hair down, if you will, tell you about their lives and answer your questions honestly. Because at the end, there are a lot of people that interview well, but they don't become good employees. And you have got to find out if that's the case. So you got to do a good job with this process. Otherwise, you end up with someone, again, as we talked, that you invest a lot of time and money in and they don't work out, or worse yet, you have to end up firing. So really important stuff. Let me look one more time. Question, do all SCORE webinar hosts send the recording and slides? Whoever attends our webinars does receive the slides, and all the recordings and slides are on our website. So you can get to them whether you attended or not. So it is standard. Okay, so guys, I don't see any more comments or questions. Let me take one more look. I think we've addressed almost everything to the best of my ability, my limited ability. But so I don't see any other questions. Let me pause for a second and see if there's anything else you want to put in the Q&A or raise your hand. Okay, Elena, Elena, your microphone is open.
All right, great. My question is, what would be the websites or the major online places where you and everyone would go and find employees? I've heard about Indeed or any other places, and how does that work? Because of, again, we're right now living in the world that's so interconnected, and just where would everyone go for to get HR hires?
Yeah, I mean, Indeed has a lot of name brand, and so does ZipRecruiter. They've been doing a lot of advertising. LinkedIn does a lot too. So I would say those are the ones that come to mind. They all step you through the process, Elena, because it's in their best interest for you to post a job with them. So it's pretty simple. Once you've done all the legwork that I talked about in terms of the job description and things like that, it's easy to plug it in and create a job opening. It does not take that long on any of them. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let me see if there's anything else in the Q&A. All right, well, I don't see anything else. So thank you everyone for your time today. I want to tell you one more time about, things we do at SCORE. We'll send you a survey. Please do the survey. We'll send you the presentation, and then go to our website and look around. There's a lot of good stuff out there, and we look forward to working with you down the road. If you do think a mentor can help you out through any of these things in the business, just go ahead and request a mentor. All right. Thank you and have a great afternoon.